Oh no, God! Am I about to get lit up?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I've always enjoyed being on your show. I always had a great deal of fun, and sometimes the beer that you provided was good enough.
Sometimes, dude, we go out of our way to make sure everything. When you come to our studio, everything in the studio is at least 15% ABV, and it's all locally sourced stouts and porters.
I didn't realize I was such a prima donna. But while we're on this, this is brewed in Fort Worth.
Oh,
I'm not sure how to pronounce it. We call it cocytus, but it might be cockcoitus. I'm not sure.
No,
I don't want to hear about a beer called cockcoitus.
No, you're second in prima donna only. Oh, Buckfast tonic wine.
We were going to ask Aron about that, whether he's ever had the pleasure stroke displeasure.
That's wrong, Kate. That's super wrong. Bro.
No, Aron, you're second only to Matt Dillahunty. When he came to the studio, he requested a certain type of vodka that can only be found in Austin, Texas. And I had my finger on the button to fast ship an order up to me, but it wasn't going to make it here in time. So no, you are not the prima donna. Matt is.
Okay, when I went to San Antonio, they gave me what do they call it? A concierge. And so I requested of this concierge that they give me a case of Franziskaner of Spaten Franziskaner Brau Dunkelweizen Wiesbier.
That's the best beer ever. the Franziskaner, Hefeweizen.
Say it again. Try it again.
The Franziskaner Hefeweizen.
No, not the Hefeweizen. Dunkelweizen.
Oh, it's a wheat beer, though. Oh, it's a Dunkel. It's darker.
Yeah, Dunkel.
Okay.
So it had to be the Franziskaner Dunkel, which is not even available in the States anymore. When I went to Sydney, I happened to walk into a bottle shop in Sydney, and I just accidentally walked right up to where they had Franziskaner Dunkel. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm done. And I just filled the shopping cart with these giant pint bottles.
Yeah, but that's only like 8%, 6% at the most.
Yeah,
you're used to 15
strong.
And 19.
Yeah, it's not strong, but the taste is really there. I mean, the taste is really. Everybody I've given this to, we're like, well, I'm not really a beer person. Well, you haven't tried this. And everybody, wow, that's good.
Have you ever tried
see,
tactical?
the thing is, I'm a super taster. All beer is bitter as hell to me, and people have handed me bottles of what they say is the best beer ever, or this stuff isn't too hoppy or whatever, and it's never like the only beer I can enjoy is either root or ginger.
Have I given you any?
No.
All right, well then you missed out. I would like to give you this one. This is full-grown scallywag.
Okay.
Yeah, and the full-grown. This is another local brewery in McKinney, which is just north, like 5 minutes north of Dallas. They do full-grown man, and every month they do a different one. Full-grown Jack, which is a pumpkin stout. Full-grown Nick, which tastes like drinking a fruitcake. And then there's full-grown ombre, which has ancho chilies in it, and full-grown scallywag. Which I don't know what the fuck. They just pour a bunch of stuff in, but it's thick and black and goes good on pancakes.
Okay.
You need to try using Tactical Nuclear Penguin, Aron. That is a beer and a half. That is a craft beer that is
Penguin.
Tactical Nuclear Penguin. It is 40% by volume alcohol.
Who makes that?
Which is like, I think it might be a Brewdog thing, possibly.
I thought it might be Brewdog. I went to the Brewdog brewery, both the one in Camden, and also the one in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
I got pictures with what was that bottle that they would serve this stuff inside of roadkill.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing.
They had a tactical squirrel, and they would shove this bottle up the squirrel's ass, so that in order to drink this beer, you had to French kiss a dead squirrel.
Wait, I'm sorry. How big was this squirrel though to get the bottle of its ass? What the fuck?
Of it had to be a roadkill squirrel that was then taxidermed to become a bottle.
That's
And when I explained it to somebody, it was supposed to be something ridiculous, like they would distill this, or they would brew this and then freeze it, like freeze dry it to compact, and then brew it again. And so
Yeah.
I don't know how the process is, but BrewDog did this thing where they got a 65% ABV.
Yeah. You can
So-
actually freeze distill at home. Literally, all you do is just put it in a freezer, and then as the water freezes, you just physically remove the ice from the beer, and that's how they do it. You just get so you
Yeah,
get
so when I
big
described
vat of liquid. Yeah.
when I described how it's 65% ABV and served inside a
Pack freeze-
dead squirrel, somebody told me that's the most Scottish thing I've ever heard.
Can you approve the photo I'm trying to share there?
I can't see it.
Oh, all right. Well, there's the Klingon Warnog and Vulcan Ale beer that came out a while ago. I tried both of them. They might as well have been Budweiser, but
I came across a beer that I didn't buy, and I really wish I did. That was Kuiper Belt, and that was one of the subjects when I got my astrophysics degree. I was studying the Kuiper Belt, and I should have bought it. I was so pissed. So
I've had a Kuiper Belt.
Is it good?
Well, I can't really remember, honestly. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
But most of the stuff that I drink is locally brewed within Dallas-Fort Worth area. I mean, I have a beer fridge literally full of locally brewed stuff. And so when they did they did at a conference, you were there. What was the conference? Anyway, they had a conference here in Dallas, and so I brought this huge ice.
Faithless Forum.
Yes, that was it.
oh, okay.
I spent like $300 or $400 on beer, just at local breweries, just local stuff to share with, because I thought it was amusing that in England you don't get any really powerful beers other than BrewDog.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to pay through the nose to get BrewDog. So I was giving these British kids this really quality stuff.
Everybody's a kid to Aron. It's fine.
I'm 57 years old. You know, some girl at 22 shows up. She's a child. So I give this girl a beer, and she goes, "Well, I don't really like beer." And I'm like, "Well, try this, because this was a stupidly expensive beer. It was a 12-ounce bottle, and I paid $16 for it."
Jesus fucking Christ! Wow.
For a
That
single
better be good beer.
12-ounce bottle, and it was 18% ABV.
Wow.
And I don't remember off the top of my head what this beer was called, but it should have been called Goddamn, because that's what everybody says when I give them a taste of it.
Just a taste, not the whole
They
thing.
would try it, and we're like, "Goddamn!" Right? That's why it's fucking $16.
Well, okay.
The thing is, I gave this one girl, I'm going to be really kind and not mention her name, but I gave this one British girl this one beer, and she took a taste of it, did exactly that thing. God damn, this is really, really fucking good. I don't know, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah. And then she sat it down and left.
Really?
One swallow. On a 16.
I don't know. That sounds like a good weekend. I hope you don't mean
I
that
can get out. Aron's coming over for a Mel Brooks marathon after this pandemic blows over anyway. So I can bow out.
Look forward to that. I very
Well,
much
yeah.
enjoyed the last one that you did, Jim, by the way.
The Stanley Kubrick. Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Wh- What's the one that I had never seen before? Oh, Dr. Strangelove. That was if you all young kids have never seen Dr. Strangelove, it's one of the little known Stanley Kubricks. You got to watch it. It's freaking hilarious.
You know, it's funny you mention that because I don't really like Kubrick that much, but I loved Dr. Strangelove.
It was awesome. Oh, really? Okay, I'll stay on then.
Okay, Jim, I got another suggestion for a movie night for you. It's
Yeah.
a different theme. Instead of going with a single director or whatever, there's a theme that I've noticed it usually only happens in British movies. You don't get it usually anywhere else. But it's a film where it's a triad of bad guys where there are no good guys in the film.
Oh, anything with Quentin Tarantino, probably.
That might be a good example, but
Yeah.
I can't think of a. Oh no, actually no.
Like,
Yeah, you're
No,
right.
anything, literally anything with Quentin Tarantino. They're all bad guys.
You're right. That's
So
yeah.
how about
Hateful Eight, Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction was the one I
Snatch.
was thinking of, but I was
It's
also
all
thinking
him.
of Boondock Saints
Oh,
Okay.
see?
Love Boondock
and Snatch.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
what, you know, you mentioned
Yeah.
Snatch. I was going to bring up Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
We mentioned Snatch, and of course, Behind the Dance.
And,
Works out.
another one is by Eat the Rich.
Hmm.
Have you seen Eat the Rich?
No, I have
great.
not.
It's hilarious. It's another one of those dystopian comedies where it's all bad guys, and you have to choose which triad of bad guys you like, right? But it's a transvestite, which I thought was just completely novel. It's a transvestite rebel, and somehow Lemmy Kilminster of Motorhead is a government agent. Because that makes sense.
No way.
Oh,
We got it.
They're both. And
what
these
was
two
it called again?
These two. It's
Oh,
called
Eat the Rich, right? Is it streaming anywhere?
I don't know. I would bet that you can see it on YouTube. You can probably see Eat the Rich on YouTube. But Lemmy Kilmister is a government agent, because that makes sense. And they're all going against a Cockney Home Secretary who is a professional boxer, and that's how he does policy, by beating up people.
I had my heart set on a Mel Brooks, but this sounds like a
whole
good.
purpose. Shut up. The whole purpose of the movie is that they create a restaurant to take the customers into the back room, kill them, and process their meat and serve it to everyone else.
That sounds like Motel Hell. You know, the premise of that was basically the same thing.
But this is
Motel
a comedy.
Hell. Yeah, Motel Hell was kind of a comedy.
Okay.
But spoiler alert, it was a 70s movie, but it was this old couple that owns a hotel, and when people come in to check in, they end up getting buried up to their necks in the backyard, and they get processed for this world famous sausage that it's human sausage.
I thought you were talking about eating Raoul.
Oh, that's another one. Jesus.
Have you guys
Okay.
Did you ever see a movie called Parents? Parents, where it turns out that this kid discovers his parents are cannibals, and it gets really creepy. And then, well, I don't want to spoil the ending, but
No,
Which
but
reminds me of
Seven
the 80s
Psychopaths.
song.
It's from I think it's from the late '90s. It's hilarious, and they're all bad guys in it. So I'd suggest that one.
There was a song in the 80s. I eat cannibals. It's incredible. Your love is so edible to me.
Yep.
Hi, Sal.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Sal.
How are you, Bill? Thank you
much.
Yeah. No, Aaron. It's actually a pleasure and honor to meet you. 2 years ago, I didn't think I'd have the opportunity to actually chat with you. I've never really had a problem with religion. I grew up in a secular household, but I make it a point to find credible resources, and you have turned out to be one of those resources, and I thank you. And if there's anything I can do to help you, like MathPig said, just please let me know. I'd love to help you. I really like your approach. I really like your stance, and thank you. Pleasure.
I don't really know how to respond to that. So just thank you.
No, don't go that far. Well, it's just a pleasure to actually have the opportunity.
Why is it that I can see everybody else's face, but MathPig seems to be floating about?
Yeah.
It works well.
Keep refocusing.
Okay. You're ugly. Have you seen me?
So, Aron, I
Chat's saying they can't hear you. Chat's saying they can't hear you.
There you go.
You're talking.
Working now.
Whoops.
Yeah, now I'm gonna
Epic
go.
fail.
See, now I feel the need to hide again. Where's that camera icon?
Now you got to try and remember what you just said.
He heard it. That's all that matters. He heard it. Doesn't matter. Sal did his bit. Yeah.
So, Aaron, I had a bit of a question. How was it that you came to be involved with the gothsploitation lot, with your acting and stuff that you did in your appearances, and how did you become involved?
The film producer who made Gothsploitation was a fan, and I wish I was part of that movie, but he wanted me to do the narration for like the American release of it. And then they ran into some issue that apparently I wasn't listed on IMDb at that point. I actually am listed in IMDb now for like 4 or 5 different things. Oddly enough, they don't have me in the first movie I was ever in. The first movie I was ever in was the worst movie I've ever seen. It was called The Zombie Christ. It's Jesus comes back as a rotting corpse. And he leads a bunch of 80s post-apocalyptic bikers against other zombies. And beyond that, the rest of the movie doesn't make any sense.
I was going to say, it sounds bizarre already.
Probably the best thing about this movie was that the main villain was a 300-plus pound naked man in a bathtub wearing a World War I German helmet that had a dildo mounted on the spike.
But this sounds great.
That sounds like something my friend Brian would make. He's got this movie called Fear of Lemonade, where he's playing this like transvestite superhero that has like all these weird. It looks like if Suicide Squad was made while on really happy acid.
But isn't Zombie Christ kind of redundant a little bit?
A little bit.
No.
They made this post-apocalyptic movie. I played one of the bikers. So and my son played like I hesitate to call him the lead zombie because they're not supposed to have a lead. But the funny thing is that at the end of the movie, the heroes of the story are all locked up inside of a rodeo arena. And the zombies kind of break the gates to flood in from all 4 directions at once. And what's funny about that is that my son is the first zombie through all 4 gates.
Okay.
That sounds awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah, he had long hair and a flannel shirt and looked like the ultimate grunge rocker at that time. But he's very recognizable in every scene that he's in.
Interesting.
The movie
was so bad.
Is that the one that
so bad that he started to walk out of the theater in the premiere before his scene even showed up?
Wow. That means it's bad.
Extraordinarily bad. Now, so the guy that made Gothsploitation has made another movie, and it is still waiting to be on production of this one, and I'm in that film.
Nice.
I get murdered by a goth lesbian.
Is that the porn star movie? Is that the one where she's a porn star?
No, she's not a porn star. There was a dominatrix. Her girlfriend is a famous dominatrix.
Because I know you weren't going to be in a movie with. I think it was the redhead little. I can't remember. There's a porn star woman.
I can't remember what the dominatrix name is, but she actually is famous. But I get murdered by her girlfriend. She stabs me to death with a kitchen knife in an alley.
Isn't it Tanya Cheeks?
It's Danny Devine. It's Danny Devine. Wasn't it the movie Danny that you were supposed to be in a movie with Danny Devine?
Danny Devine.
Yep.
That's right.
That's her. Yes. Well, I get murdered by her girlfriend. And what was really funny about that was they wanted to film this scene with and this little she's just this tiny little college age girl, like you can't possibly hurt me. So to make this believable, she walked up. They've got a camera behind her. She walks up. She's got this huge kitchen knife behind her. And when they made this motion, they would see the knife, and she would turn her hand and then stab me in the ribs. But the way they did it was that when she turns her hand from behind her back, she drops the knife, behind her leg and then punches me in the ribs. So it looks like she's stabbing me. And so I have a moment to talk to this girl before we start filming. And I said, okay, you're going to have to hit me hard. Don't worry about hurting me. You can't. Hit me as hard as you can, but make sure that you hit me 2 or 3 times. And every time you hit me harder than you hit me the first time. So keep hitting me harder than you hit me before. And don't worry about hurting me. Have fun. And a lot of people have accused me of having fun with this.
That would definitely be the first thing that sprung to my mind.
All I will say is, I did. But anyway, what I wasn't expecting was that they filmed this 24 times.
Shit.
Oof.
Damn.
So I have this 110-pound girl punching me in exactly the same place in the ribs 24 times 3.
Yeah, that's gonna be painful after a while.
Gonna be a wee bit sore.
That's gonna be
Just over and over and over and over again. But anyway, that's oh, they also have me in kind of the promo of the movie. They wanted me to write my own rant. The movie is really bizarre. His first movie, Gosploitation, was what if atheism was the religion, not just a religion, but what if it was the religion that Christians make it out to be?
Yeah.
And so there are people going door to door, like proselytizing Darwinism, for example, in Gosploitation. And that one of the guys gets beat up at a train station by agnostics because he's atheist. And so, religious disputes like that. So he makes this movie, and it's like, what if all these conspiracy theories are true? Like all of them.
Conspiracy theories go out of control, though. If they were all true.
Which conspiracy?
He had me write my own rant, so I chose, because I'm playing a Texas character, and he didn't want me to come up with an accent or anything. I'm the only Texan in London for this scene. And I came up with all these local, indigenous, actual Texas conspiracy theories. I just linked them all together. Things that people in Texas actually believe. And so I'm spouting these while I'm on a street corner in London. Because why would I be in fucking London? Why not?
Never been to
Xander,
London.
put the microphone, you stupid cat.
What don't they believe in Texas? I was stationed in Fort Hood for some time. I've heard a lot.
Have you ever seen the Tesla Tower?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Okay.
We were doing a bit of a road trip on we weren't supposed to, but yeah.
Yeah, see, that one got me too. Why the fuck is there a Tesla Tower? Because that's literally what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. All I heard was they're trying to control our brainwaves with it, and I lost it.
Shut up, dog. Woof.
Now I don't know what to say.
So yeah, I was a little confused because if anybody doesn't know, a Tesla Tower has nothing to do with Tesla cars. Tesla Tower was meant to transmit energy through the air.
Yes.
The dog just pulled my headphones off. Give me that.
Yeah, it's just outside of Milford, Texas.
So, they erected a Tesla Tower off of Highway 35 in Texas so that they can transmit energy that is not going to be received by anything, because nothing is designed to receive transmissions from Tesla towers. Why the fuck then did they build it?
Who knows?
Like I said, I was in the military at the time, and everybody kept asking us, are they trying to control our brainwaves? Is this a government hostile takeover? And
That's the common theory. They're trying to control our brainwaves.
I don't know.
In the middle of nowhere off I-35. There's not even a town there.
It doesn't even have an effective range. I don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. You're only going to control the 35 people in the trailer park nearby.
Bill, is it alright if I swap you out a wee second for Kevin, so Kevin can come in and say hello? Bill, is it okay if I swap you out for a wee minute?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't introduced myself yet, by the way.
Sorry,
I was
Mad.
about to ask you who you are.
I'm Mama Atheist. I'm new. I'm
Freaking
climate,
awesome.
Yes.
I climate scientist, so I do some of that on my channel. It's a relatively new channel, so
She
But
used
yeah,
to.
You are a climate scientist?
yeah.
In what do you do exactly?
Well, I used to design solar panel systems, but I had to move to Georgia to take care of my parents, so I work from home now. So
We are talking about United States.
What?
We're talking about it in the U.S.
Yes, Georgia, United States. Yeah.
The state, not the country, is what I meant.
Georgia, not Georgia.
Yes. No, I'm clearly not from the South. I'm from Connecticut originally, so you can't. I have no accent. But I run computer simulations that see what's going to happen with certain ecosystems, and I write papers about them. We take data and put it together. It's nothing big.
Would it be worth having a chat with you on my channel for a bit about climate science?
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
All right,
I'd be happy to.
She's going to kill us later, but yes.
She is going.
I want to
absolutely
talk about
power
climate
us.
science. I do, but I've become really pessimistic.
Oh, I have these days where I'm just like, fuck it, I don't care, we're all gonna die. Like it is depressing as shit. I really can't help it. I can't. People get mad at me for it because they're like, God, that's so fucking dark. But it's like, I know what's coming, and I see what's happening in this country, especially with the way Trump has fucked with so many of the laws and shit, and rolled them back, and is pushing the fossil fuel companies forward, took us out of the Paris climate agreement, and it's so fucked. And there's so much we can do. I'm not gonna. Yeah.
And the problem we're trying to surmount right now at once takes a global, unified, concerted effort on a scale where we have to have the super rich and the mega corporations not just on board, but leading the way.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen.
I don't understand why they're not more in conflict with each other.
Well, it does not matter whether you drive a Prius or I drive a Suburban. If the major corporations aren't behind this and driving it and leading it, it doesn't matter what we do as individuals.
Well, and one of the things Trump just did that he's relating to COVID is he's rolling back some of the emissions laws for cars, because he claims that it'll be cheaper. People will be able to afford the cars that run that have higher lower miles per gallon, and so he keeps doing shit like this, and it is bringing us back further and further. And as you said, we need to work globally with this, but it's really important that a country as big as us does something and fucking steps forward. And we have been pushed back just decades with funding and research. It's so much because of Trump, and it's fucking heartbreaking.
If you'll compile a list of notes of things just for yourself, so that you make sure that you hit all the points that you want to cover, I would be delighted to give you 20 minutes to an hour to go off.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Sorry, MathPig.
No. Go for that. Definitely go for that. I'm just an Irish man that likes to drink and talk. The content that you're aiming to produce with the climate change, you're definitely a hell of a better asset than me. Just say that you met him. Just say you met him here. I'll be happy with that.
I was about to say, I know MathPig's got to be tickled pink. You finally, spoke up.
Like when you joined, Aaron, there was a few people in the backstage, like Jassa and all. I really do have an utmost respect for you, man. Like it is sort of a big thing for me,
Oh no, that'll all go away once people realize that I'm running a Thai human trafficking organization out of my basement.
Do they make cheap t-shirts? Are they cheaper than Teespring?
That's why I've got this black screen behind me, so that you won't see the women in cages.
Now, Aron, I have to personally thank you. Your Noachian deluge, especially for the simple fact that. Especially for the simple fact that I live in Alabama. I actually have a coworker that not only has frequented Ken Ham's Ark Encounter more than once, but has also gone to the Dinosaur Adventure Park.
Why would he go more than once?
I don't know. The man has a golden heart. I give it to him. Out of 8 of his children, 6 are adopted. Okay, he's a really nice guy, but he is ultra New Earth creationist. And he and I have sat down multiple times, and I had actually watched almost your entire series before, and I was sitting there, I was feverishly taking notes, and I'm like, I'm finally going to get this guy to understand that the it could not have happened. I did finally get him to admit that there is no scientific possibility that it could have happened. He actually had to concede that. He had to actually concede that it had to have been all magic. Well, he wouldn't quote magic, but he had to say God had to do it. And I'm like, fine. Why didn't God just pull a Thanos and just snap us all away?
Do you hear that thing when it not just barks, but when it does the confused thing afterward? You hear when it does that?
It's because your Disney villain is coming out. That's why he doesn't know how to handle it. He's like, I thought you were a Disney princess. Wait a minute, damn.
You should hear what it's like when somebody rings a doorbell. That when all the phones go off. And there's one of them. This one. Hold on a second. Come on.
Oh, you see, now mine's woke up.
This one barks like he's being electrocuted.
Oh,
Aaron, actually, which is actually funny. Here, see if I can get mine up. Pot. Yes, my dog is called Pot. I definitely don't smoke weed. Pot, come here.
None of us do.
Why did you pick that particular? I know you're a historian at heart and an archaeologist at heart, but why did you choose the Noachian deluge? I mean, what did somebody just piss you off finally? And he's like, screw it, I'm gonna prove it isn't.
I put that series off for years.
Oh.
Would you believe it's his 16th birthday actually today, Aaron? So it is. He's 16.
Wow.
What a beautiful doggy.
He's a Jack
Happy
Russell
birthday.
Right.
16's a really good age.
He's 16
and what is this dog?
Pardon?
What is this dog?
It's a Staffy crossed with the Jack Russell.
Okay.
He's a fucking tank, man. He's about 16, 17 kilo. He's just pure muscle. As I say, he turned 16 today. So I've had him
and
since I moved out.
My Barkomatic is only 95 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilos.
Well, you can see here, he's well built. He's
Okay.
healthy. He's got a few cataracts in his eyes, but it doesn't affect him that much. Right.
He's 16 years old. That's a good age. He's a good boy.
Guys, get down. That's the Jack Russell. Jack Russells live forever.
My kid, that's
Calisthenics that Jack Russell's constantly fucking do.
He lied. No, he's a very independent dog. As I say, he escaped yesterday. I went over my fucking ankle. I've now got a tennis ball for a fucking ankle. But no, he's very independent.
That's why they call him Jack Rascal Terrors.
Kevin, this is Aaron. Aaron, this is Kevin in the bottom corner, the guy with the mask. He does the music for my channel. I've known Kevin coming up on 2 years now. He's been a member of the Pigsty for a long time.
You do music?
I do music.
Okay, can you do my music?
Sure. Be more than happy to. Oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please.
I'm always looking for good background metal riffs that I don't have to pay for. or that I won't get the, what is it?
Copyright strike.
Copyright notices.
Funny story, Kevin spent 6 months on the track. If you watch the video back, there's actually like I have a wee OBS thing set up and it's different and there's music playing in the background. Kevin spent 6 months working on that track and the second night I had it up, I got a copyright strike for it.
Wow. Okay, so climate scientist, I don't remember the name that you gave me at the beginning of this.
I'm Mama Atheist.
Okay. Do please contact me, email or whatever. We'll set something up to do a podcast after this.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm Amanda also, by the way. That's what I usually go by. But my YouTube channel is Mama Atheist. So
as a side note,
did I hear Mom Atheist?
Mama, MOMMA, Atheist.
Mama Atheist.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a side note, she will stab me after we get off stream for this, but she did also work for NASA teaching kids how to crash spaceships for a while.
Oh, now she's going to send the NASA ninjas after you. Wonderful. Hey, come on, man.
It's important that they know how to crash properly.
Any crash you can walk away from is a perfect landing. Okay, for prior military.
Yeah, teaches them
Crashing on a
character.
foreign planet, there's no way to survive. Make sure everybody dies.
Yes. Yeah. No, I used to work for the Challenger program, and we taught.
Oh, I just brought up the wrong joke, didn't I?
No, we did. It was a simulated space thing where we had kids in mission control and kids in a space station, and we would they would work. They would have a week. They were middle school kids trying to get to the moon or around the moon, depending on the simulation we did. And for a few days we would just fucking crash them somewhere. So that was what we did. But yeah, that was
Where was this that you were doing this?
Excuse me?
Where were you when you were doing this?
In Iowa, Des Moines, actually. There's a few Challenger centers around the country, and I was asked to run the one in Iowa for a while.
No, I lived in Des Moines, in dead boring Iowa for like 6 months. I couldn't believe that there was anything remotely cool there.
No, it's in the Science Center there. But yeah, no, I fucking hate Iowa. It is not as much as I hate Georgia, though. Georgia is so much worse. But Iowa is the most vanilla place I've ever been in my life. So
I actually liked Atlanta.
Atlanta's great. I lived about 40 minutes outside Atlanta. The city itself is wonderful, but the suburbs are god awful.
This is going to sound strange, but I liked Atlanta because it's predominantly black.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's a different environment that I'm used to, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
The only awkward thing was that I walked out of my hotel. I was only there for like 2 days, and I walked out of my hotel just looking for something to do, and I happened to find a street preacher, and I couldn't help but get into it with the street preacher. And I'm not at a conference or anything, so there's not like anybody around to record it. It's just me arguing with a street preacher, and right away there's police. And they want to make sure that this is not a domestic disturbance. I'm like, no, we're having fun.
Yeah, I get that.
But,
yeah. The only atheist communities that I could find in my area are in Atlanta. I tried when I first moved here. I started an activist organization that was both, I don't want to say anti-Trump, but we were fighting against the stuff he was doing, but we were also atheists. And it somehow a bunch of the real right-wing assholes found out about us. They came to our meetings and would stand at the door and watch us. I had a guy follow me home once. So I was like, no, I guess I'm done with this. And that's why I do this stuff online instead, because they're not happy here with atheists, with left-wingers, with any of it. So
when you say here
in I live in, like I said, it is a suburb about 40 minutes outside Atlanta. So
okay,
yeah, it's pretty shitty. And like I said, I'm not used to it. I'm from Connecticut. It's very mellow and blue and happy, and yeah, it's not.
There's a lot of places that I would prefer to live than Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've lived in some wonderful places where the scenery is beautiful, where the people are wonderful, but where nobody has a job.
Yeah.
And so I had to move to Dallas because I was always employed in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best place to live, but everybody has a job.
Yeah.
And
No,
if I had lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico, or someplace like that, someplace where I was really going to be happy, it would have been miserable because I would have had no means of employment, period, ever.
Yeah. I totally get that.
And I wouldn't have been an activist either, because I wouldn't have been in the frying pan, and you kind of have to be.
Okay. I get that. Yeah, I literally just got, like, I've never really believed in God, but I was like 15 when I decided that I was an atheist, but I didn't, I have a 16-year-old son that I've raised on my own, and I just wasn't active in any community. I was just doing that for the longest time. So it was just recently that I became involved in this and found my community and my family, and it's been great. But I much prefer this to what I was doing here, because that was frightening, and people here are terrible. So
yeah, it's funny how you get into an environment when you're like when I go to London, which I've been lucky enough to do quite often in the last few years, and you get among educated people, people whose names are Professor blankety blank PhD, and you think that the world is sane and that people get it, and it's all good. And then, but when in Texas, just go down to Walmart and you realize immediately, no, shit is fucked up.
Oh my God, so much so. Yeah.
So there was our governor here in Texas said that churches are should stay open as essential businesses, even though I can't imagine anything less essential than a church.
I know.
And they were interviewing this one person who was pulling into the church, and she says that she's immune to COVID-19 because she's washed in the blood of Jesus. So she goes all over town. She goes to Walmart. She goes everywhere. No precautions, no mask, no nothing. She just goes about her regular day because she doesn't need to worry about it. She's immune.
Yeah, but she doesn't care if she spreads it to others or anything? As long as
she thinks she can't get it to spread to someone else.
Okay.
Because she thinks magic is real.
The undereducation in this country on so many levels is just it's fucked up. It really is.
I posted on Kenneth Copeland,
riding it so that it's going to continue.
I posted on Kenneth Copeland's one of his Facebook pages today, where I showed him where he's doing an exorcism of COVID-19, where he demands in the name of Jesus that COVID-19 eradicate. Right. And okay, so this was a week ago. I point out in my post, this was a week ago, and the virus is still ramping up exponentially and hasn't even peaked yet. Can we declare your prayer a failure now?
Yeah.
Just to point out to his followers who are defending him, of course, on this page, that that he failed, right? That just didn't work. And so at some point, reality is going to have to take effect on you. And preferably it should be when I'm talking to you rather than when the doctors strap a respirator to you or tell you that they've run out of them.
But then they justify it by saying, well, that was God's will. That's what God wanted it to be. It's stupid. And in my town, it's not a rule right now for the churches to be closed, but most of them have closed. And I mean, we're covered. Like so many, there has to be at least 40 churches in this town. There's 4 just around the block for me. So they decided to get together a few weeks ago in the square in our town to congregate all the different churches, people from the different churches, to pray together, like fucking idiots. And then like a week later, I know a whole bunch of our teachers are sick. Like it is really bad in my town. And my governor just yesterday, Governor Kent, who if you ever get a chance to look into him, he's a fuckwit of epic proportions.
I have that experience with people named Kent.
Oh my God. His campaign ad was him sitting next to a teenage boy with a gun saying, how much he loves his Second Amendment rights, but how this kid wants to date his daughter. And he's fucking literally pointing the gun at this kid. He's like, yeah, this is how I am. Like, he's so gross. But he opened the fucking beaches here yesterday. So, yeah.
He sounds like he's kind of a beach.
Yeah, he is, totally. And he also admitted that he didn't understand that you could transmit the virus without being sick. He didn't get that, without showing symptoms, I mean. He didn't understand it, and he admitted it. So, yeah, it's a mess in this state. Oh, my God.
I very often wish that I could just impart on religious believers the basic rules, what Hitchens described as the fundamental rules of logic. That positive claims require positive evidence, and what is asserted without evidence may be dismissed without evidence. Just that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? So when Kenneth Copeland, I'm sorry, gets up and just says whatever bullshit he made up in that moment and states it as if it's true, I can call him out as a liar. Mm-hmm. Because that's what he's doing. When you make up your own statistics on the fly, if you say that 67% of whatever is just made up statistics, okay, I don't have to prove that your number is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a reason if you don't have a source to provide that number, then you're lying.
Yeah, exactly. You need evidence and data, and Jim has his hand raised, so go, Jim.
Oh, can you guys hear me? I switched to the shitty mic. Aron, can you imagine if, like, instead of Dallas, we lived in like Portland or Seattle or San Fran? Where exactly where we need to be inside the fight
we wouldn't have right-wing, super red states to have to fight with and super conservative governors. This is where we belong.
If we were in Portland or Seattle, we would be in one of those super posh lefty environments where we would not even know that shit is bad.
We would be complacent. We would be complacent.
I mean, speaking as someone who lived in Seattle for 20 years, that used to be true, but it's starting to become weirdly right-wing in Seattle now.
That's upsetting. My daughter just moved there.
But I need to talk to music dude, Scary Lava Face there, because I wanted to know what genres of music you build.
A lot of it's electronic, but I do some more ambient stuff. Or
Okay, because I might need music at some point, and I was just curious what... Yeah, okay, well, thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Eyes for Empties, I think it is, on SoundCloud.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like the Mad Max Fury Road soundtrack that I was quite looking for.
I can do Mad Max.
Yeah, where the guy is riding on top of the truck playing the guitar all the way through the movie. That's what I was looking for.
Now, we all love
come
Mad
up
Max.
with something.
I grew up on Conan, though. I had a big big love for Arnie.
For who?
Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, the lamentation of the women. You know.
Yeah, I used to be a LARPer.
No.
What's a LARPer?
I used to. I had a full suit of battle armor, which I'm sorry that the only thing I have left of it is the helmet. But it was designed after Thulsa Doom's helmet, so it had 2 L-shaped slits. And I made it myself out of 16-gauge steel. And it had these brackets on the side where I could plug these horns in with duct tape. And if somebody were to hit me with their sword and knock my horn off, I could just stick it back in and get back into the fight. And I absolutely loved that. I loved that so much. Getting in heavy, hard suit, full suit of armor that you made yourself. And my armor was rusty and reticulated and covered in rivets and looked really nasty. And then I was covered in all these dead animal hides of wolf and horse and all this. And I loved getting on the field and getting into the fray. This is how I spent my 20s. Getting into the battlefield with hundreds or thousands, sometimes on rare occasions, thousands of people on the field.
See,
and
well, there needs to be a sci-fi LARP. Like some good way to make, you know, like Ray Punk style space opera as a LARP.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work, because after we drag ourselves off of the battlefield, and I in one of these events, I remember that the fighting was 8 hours a day. So we would be there 8 hours on Saturday, 8 hours on Sunday, and then you would try to drag yourself home back to your campsite to recover. And in this one event that I'm talking about, there were 3,000 armored warriors on the battlefield and at least 5,000 people in attendance. And so you're going through a tent city to get to where your camp is, and all your camp is gathered around the campfire. And then, of course, once the sun dips beyond the mountains, then the drums start up. And now you've got the drum circle and the girls with the little belly dancing outfits, and everybody's broken out their homemade liquor. And this is how I did my 20s.
I did my 20s wrong.
I was trying to join one of those like lightsaber dueling clubs at one point, but they took it way the heck too seriously. It was like, okay, all of you are Padawans. You got to get someone in the upper echelons of the club to be your master, to train you, and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, I just want to hit someone with my glowy stick.
I bet you right now Mama's wearing her tie-wing earrings.
Hold on.
And then the shortest person in the club will deny you, saying, anger in you, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to one event, the one I was just telling you about, where there was 3,000 people. I've never been to one that big. I mean, there would usually be 60 to maybe a couple hundred people. I remember there was one that would do every year that would be like 1,500 people. But this one was epic. This one that I went to was 3,000 people on the battlefield at one time. And it's impossible to understand what that looks like. Because if you've seen Braveheart, when you see the enemy army assemble and you see how huge they are, that was 1,500 people. We were twice that.
Wow.
just think how huge that is. And so when the guy comes up with the little green tights with the big flag and says, "Lay on," and then hauls ass out of the way, and then the earth shakes as thousands of people in armor go charging after each other. And I don't know how to explain that to somebody who hasn't felt it.
Tell them about all the injuries. So when you were at the exact same time you were doing this, I was doing SCA up in Denver, and the worst we had was a collapsed lung, and that was like a big deal. But Aron, when he recounts all the injuries during this large-scale battle, it was in
that battle, there were 3 ambulances in perpetual motion. They were constantly picking somebody up. So there would somebody come out and lay out. They would call hold, and everybody has to go down on one knee. Somebody would come out with a stretcher and carry somebody off, which is kind of impressive when you think about the size of these people, and then also the fact that they're wearing 70 to 90 pounds of armor, and they have to put that on a stretcher and put it in an ambulance. In the first 5 minutes, there was one guy that had traveled all the way from like Cincinnati to be here, and in the first 5 minutes, he had his kneecap moved to the side of his leg. That was interesting to look at because he showed it to me.
Oh man.
Yeah, he wasn't doing anything interesting for the rest of the weekend, and that's how his weekend began.
Well, I have to say though, about the SCA, they're a little prejudiced, I'd say, because when you show up in anachronistic gear and have to explain to them that Star Wars took place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they tend to get a bit snippy about it.
I showed up wearing horns on my helmet.
I have the photos to prove that too. And,
yeah, I was going to say, you might not have much of it left, but do you have photos? That's what we want.
I have the photos to prove that Aron is not lying. I did a whole video on it.
We had to pay for film, and then we had to pay for film to be developed. So there were very few. I've actually only ever seen one picture of me in my full-on battle armor, and that unfortunately was on MySpace.
Oh God!
And when MySpace went away,
I have one of you with your horns. I have one of you. I have one of you with your horns.
Not only did I show up with all of with the horns and everything, and there was nothing historically accurate about my armor, but I also showed up with a half a dozen girls wearing bunny fur bikinis.
Oh, that's interesting. Kate's face just lit up ever so slightly there.
I have photos of that too.
With
thigh-high boots. The greatest part about this
thigh-high boots made out of bunny fur.
The greatest part about SCA is not during the battle, it's after the battle when you're just all getting together around the campfire. And I have photos of Aron too, surrounded by a bevy of women clad in bunny fur.
And you haven't released these? Why?
No, they're in a video. I've already got it out. It's already out there.
Yeah, somebody shared a picture from when I was king, like yesterday, and it was amazing to me just to see myself that young, first of all, but to see my king's guard and realize that all these old men that I know were boys once. And that was amusing. Anyway, enough of that.
Can you explain that?
I'm sorry, what?
How were you king?
I was king of a group called Amp Guard of the Dallas area. The Dallas area was called the Emerald Hills, Kingdom of the Emerald Hills.
Okay.
When I became king of the Emerald Hills, I waged war against all of the other kingdoms that existed at that time. And so
as one does.
And the funny thing is that when Amp Guard started, I was right there, like kind of as the group began. And there was a point when I had everybody who had ever signed into Amp Guard in the history of the game in my 1-bedroom apartment at one time.
Wow.
What's amazing about that was that the last Amp Guard event that I went to, there were 1,500 people at this one site, and they were representing 7 countries. But I had everybody. 1-bedroom apartment.
Wow.
I know Bill in the background wants to ask you a question, Aaron, so I'm going to bop out for a wee second and give him a
You
wee
can
slot.
swap me out, MathPig. Go ahead and swap me out.
Boom. It's so mad. We need to figure out some way of getting more than 6 people on. This is annoying, although everybody can't talk at once, so...
Zoom. You need to sort Zoom out.
Bill.
But anyway, no. To be honest, it's more of a statement than a question. I heard you talking about wanting some Mad Max sort of Fury Road style music. Okay, really brief. Do you game at all? Do you get much chance to do much gaming at all?
I'm taking up more time than I really have to do this. I can't imagine how other people, how Seth and Matt manage to play video games.
All right. So anyway, there's a game, Wolfenstein New Blood or Wolfenstein, I can't remember what it's called, on the new Wolfenstein games. The guy that wrote the music for that is also in an industrial band called Gateki. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. You might have done. They've only released about sort of 3 or 4 albums. But I can put you in touch with him, and he might very well be able to produce just the sort of music that you're looking for.
I just bought an album. I just bought one of Buckethead's albums yesterday, and I was thinking about featuring a good deal of Buckethead because he's got like 30 albums.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get away with it or not, but I just want to see if I can get an authority from him to do that. Not that it would do any good, because I did an interview with Monster on Sunday, and I played 2 of their videos in the interview, which was meant to promote the band, and I got 4 copyright blocks for having the band on to play their own video or to
comes down to the label that owns it.
Yeah, the labels own the copyright.
I kept getting YouTube. I kept getting YouTube to manually review it, and then the programming, the software would give me another copyright ding within days.
Yeah,
that's happened to me a couple of times too, where like a video I made 8 years ago, all of a sudden gets some sort of strike on it, and I'm like, really? It took you this long, guys? It's crazy.
Yeah, that is one of the...
this thing where, like, if a video's been rejected, it's rejected for all time. If it's been manually approved, it's still potentially vulnerable if they change the parameters in the algorithm or something. It's insane.
Because I've had people do the manual review. I've had people on the chat. I'm explaining. I'm interviewing the band. Mm-hmm. They're asking me to play their clips. Their clips. Yeah. So can you please just approve this perpetually? Well, there's no way we can approve that perpetually. The system will probably still flag it. Then there's no point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the big problems with the music industry, is that essentially there are only really 4 record labels, and every single record label in existence is pretty much a subsidiary of these 4 major labels, and they own all the copyrights, and they are also complete assholes. So that's a major problem.
It's not just music. I mean, I thought for a while about doing movie reviews, but then when I looked at what's involved in convincing YouTube that, yes, this falls under fair use, I was like, why bother? It's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, copyright law is a double-edged sword. It does protect small producers and musicians and artists, but it is also ridiculous to a certain extent. And it divides the music industry as well. So many people are for copyright and so many are against it. You know, I suppose it largely depends on how much money they've made. But I know people that have made a lot of money, like Bowie, for example, before he died, was really anti-copyright. He really didn't give a shit about people illegally downloading his music and just listen to it. He didn't care. He was like, just share it, do it, whatever, I don't care.
Weird Al
Yankovic to be able to do that. Yeah, he's another guy that very much
don't download this song.
Download this song.
Yeah. And what was the band called that had an album called Steal This Album?
System of a Down.
It was System of a Down. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
I don't know, I still think if I ever have a band, our very first album is going to be called Greatest Hits.
Yeah, I had a chance to name a band, unfortunately, for like a one-night show, and it basically was one song in the Battle of a Band where these people get to take the stage and do like one performance and you're done. Unfortunately, because it was, I thought, the best name for a punk band in the 80s, Brillo Tampon.
Oh. I think it was Sigur Rós. They released an album.
That creates quite the image.
Sigur Rós.
To be fair, though,
Sigur
I
Rós
swear
released
that
an
the best
album called
name-
Untitled, and every song was called Song 1, Song 2, Song 3.
So when I did my undergrad, most of my friends were, physics and engineering majors, and we joked about having a band. And we were going to call ourselves Entropy. It was a super nerdy thing, and now I don't know if you can see it. Hold on. Wait. This way. No, you can't see it. Barely. No, you can't. This way. Yeah, Boltzmann's equation on my arm, because I'm not much of a nerd, so I kept it with me. So we were Entropy, even though none of us played or sang. That was our thing.
Well, I was thinking a great name for an all-lesbian band would be the Devil's Doorbell.
That's awesome.
I can see that.
So speaking of creative names for things, my question for Aron was going to be, what are your dogs' names?
Well,
Since they've been making quite the appearance.
The big white one that barks all the time, the Great Pyrenees. His name is Falcor.
Oh,
Nice.
Good name.
Yeah.
Nice name.
Yeah, and I have one who's I have a Louisiana leopard dog, also known as a Catahoui, and that one is called Sugar because that was my daughter's dog, and now it's old and fat, but that was my daughter's dog, and so she named it Sugar, not me. And the little Dachshund Corgi mix, by the way, they call that mixed breed a Dorgie. He's blonde and he has one eye that's a different color than the other, so we named him Bowie.
Cool, thanks.
We had a rabbit named Sugar because he didn't like lettuce or any of the vegetables or anything. He would literally we'd have a bowl of ice cream, and he would jump head first into it. Like all he liked was sweet stuff. So we
Shut up.
That was the name of my first guinea pig.
Sugar?
Yep. I was like 8.
well, I just recently got, you probably saw him on camera, the little orange kitty named Xander after the character from Buffy.
Oh.
I was trying to find a good way to, well, let's say a practical, easy to say way to nickname calling him Kung Pao Chicken. I decided against it. It was funny for 5 minutes and then said, no, I can't keep, it's not going to happen. But yeah, so Xander.
My favorite pets that I ever had in my life, I had the stupidest pet that I ever had was a Malaysian water monitor, which I do not recommend because full grown, they are in excess of 7 feet and 70 pounds. In the wild, they are man-eaters. They really will eat people. They are mildly venomous, and the potential for mayhem is always there. So they are extremely dangerous pets to have, and I had one until it got out and the police shot it.
I was trying to figure out if you were referring to the stupidest pet you owned as in the pet was stupid, or it was stupid to own it.
It was stupid to own it.
Yeah.
But being a young testosterone poisoned man as I was, when they wanted to get rid of this lizard, they said because it would violently thrash when if somebody walked by its cage, and they pulled a blanket that they had over the cage to show me the lizard, and it thrashed and it's knocked its tail against the cage and it hissed at me, and when it did, strings of saliva ran from the top jaw to the bottom jaw. I'm like, oh my God, I love you. You are the most evil thing I've ever seen in my life. It was hideous. It was vile. It was so evil. It was so powerful and primitive. I just fell absolutely in love with it.
What was the name of this species? A something monitor?
Malaysian water monitor. Also known.
What was it called?
The name is Varanus salvatori.
Huh.
What did you name it? Spot or something?
Somewhere.
It already had a name. They called it Nylock.
That's fitting.
I don't remember what the source of the name was, but it was just, I later got to hold a full grown one because mine was only about 4 feet long when the police shot him. But full grown, they're more than 7 feet. They go from 7 to 9 feet.
scary things full size.
And the damage that they can do with their anticoagulant saliva and just the sheer force that they have is kind of unreal. It's a lizard that can kill you.
You said you got to hold it? You should have taken it for a ride.
They handed me this lizard. It was 7 feet long, 70 pounds, and I had it like kind of... I have like one very low quality picture of me holding this gigantic lizard. And I realized that if it wanted to, it could remove my face before I have a moment to react.
They are notoriously super lazy, though, aren't they? Because they know that there's pretty much nothing that is actually a predator to them. There's nothing that can really.
They're not afraid of anything.
Yeah, so they're notoriously lazy. They're like, fuck all you guys. I'll just kill you if I want. I'm just gonna lie here and
Full grown, this lizard can break your legs with its tail. If it's small enough that you can pick it up, they aim their feces and shit at your face as a weapon.
It's like an ass gun.
So I think I may have found the origin of the name Nylok, because there's some series called Tome, which stands for Terrain of Magical Expertise, and it's about a bunch of people playing a virtual game, and there's a character named Nylok who's like an anthropomorphic dragon.
Maybe. I thought it had something to do with an electronic component, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, lizard, dragon, I figured
it's definitely it qualifies as dragon. Definitely, it's the second largest lizard in the world, I believe. I believe the Malaysian water monitor is the second largest, and they are man eaters. They eat children, which was another stupid thing for me to have, because I had a girlfriend who was pregnant at the time that I had this lizard, and you just try to imagine explaining to your girlfriend why the kid is gone. Yeah, but my favorite pet, though, was much less dangerous. I had an emu.
Really?
I had an emu in my backyard for 3 years, and until my neighbors complained and forced me to turn him over to a petting zoo. But I used to walk my emu down to the park, and he would run through the park, and I would take a bicycle so that I could catch up to him, and then we would just kind of like stroll through the park and then walk him back home, and we'd do this like twice a week.
So
at least they just kick. They don't eat your face off.
Well, the thing is that people really freak their shit when they see you walking down the street with a bird that's as tall as you.
What do you call it? Is it the Corsairo, or what is it? The cousin of the emu that can fucking rip you off? It's got the raptor claw.
The cassowary.
That's what it is. Yeah.
That's it.
Cassowary is slightly smaller than an emu, but more dangerous.
Vicious
my
buggers.
My emu got attitude with me. He did get angry at me, and at one point he and I got into a fight, which is so embarrassing. He would raise his head because he's taller than me. He would stand 6'6", and he would get up like he's gonna peck me, right? So you're looking up here because you think he's gonna peck you, and that's when he would kick you in the crotch. And so I did something I never imagined I would ever do in my life. I punched a bird.
Oh, fuck.
That doesn't surprise me. Those things can kick. That does not surprise me at all. I think I'd be punching it too if I got kicked in the nuts.
But that was absolutely my favorite pet that I ever had in my life. And I was really, really angry when the city made me get rid of him.
What law could they possibly have used to justify that?
There was already a statute against ratites.
Oh.
So the city came by and they told me that they had been tolerant of me up until this point, but my neighbors were complete dickheads. And so they complained about my bird just because they didn't like me.
Boo, neighbors. Boo.
Yeah. Now, my neighbors complained about the fucking dogs to the point where I got found, and then I had to license the dogs. And like, my dogs bark. It's, people's dogs bark. They don't even bring their dog inside ever. It's an outside dog constantly. It's never in the house. I've had conversations with him where he's annoyed at the amount of space of his backyard and that the dog's taken up. He has no love for his dog, and he's whinging at mine because the dogs bark, and it's neighbors are assholes.
Yeah, that was mine. I had a dog that my daughter bought, And I kept the dogs outside all the time, except that this one made a ruckus at night, and so my neighbors complained. And because they couldn't get me to get rid of the dog, they focused their attention on the bird.
Yeah.
And I had the bird and the dog out in the backyard at the same time because the dog was not a threat to the bird because the bird would kick its ass.
So please tell me that when they came to take this emu away from you, one of the police officers said, "Give me the bird."
I took the bird to a petting zoo.
Oh.
So I could make sure that he was in a decent place. The best place I could take him. With this petting zoo. Unfortunately, they put him in a pen, and my daughter went to go visit him one day, and they told her that on that morning that he had been attacked by coyotes and had nowhere to run because he was in a pen. So, unfortunate. That was my favorite pet.
It's an original pet. You know, people have snakes and things like that. But question, seeing as you had one of them, they lay eggs? Did you ever have a giant omelet?
My bird was male.
Oh.
Yeah, and we originally I went to this emu ranch, and they gave us an egg, and we tried to hatch the egg. The egg never hatched. It was never fertilized. But they gave us an egg, and they said if the egg doesn't hatch, then come back and we'll give you a chick. And so the egg never hatched, and I came back and they gave me a chick. And the chicks are disarmingly cute. Imagine a baby duckling and a baby deer blended into the same animal.
Oh.
So it's just really, I mean, just the cutest thing I'd ever seen.
You should definitely
and then in
do
4
Dave's
months, he's
critical
4 feet
questions.
tall.
See, I wish that the supermarket operated that way. If you come back and your eggs haven't hatched, they give you a chick.
That was actually one of Dave's questions on his quiz show he does daily. It was if you could combine two animals into the ultimate animal, what would it be? I said a lion and a cassowary or whatever it was. I was going for the ultimate cassowary and a lion to go for the ultimate attack. But yeah, the wee babies, as you say, they're cute.
There was I used to live in Tucson. I did my undergrad there, but I also lived there for a while. And there's a long stretch of I-10 between Tucson and Phoenix, and there was an ostrich farm. No, it's not emus, but it's close. Where it was like a petting zoo type of thing, where you would go and take pictures. Like the kids would go take pictures of them and stuff. But they also sold ostrich jerky there, and I thought that was really fucked up. Like, come have your kids pet the birds and then have them eat them. Like, it was really gross.
Although there's a burger joint not too far from me that serves like well, I mean, they have beef burgers there as well, but they have a lot of like elk and bison and ostrich and all of that. So I have tried ostrich. I have to say it's unremarkable, though. It's not special in any way. It's just a burger.
Yeah, my daughter gave up pork because she had a pig.
Pigs
So do I.
Yeah, so I had that living in our house for a while.
Was it a full-size pig or one of those little teacup things?
It was a Vietnamese potbelly pig, but it wasn't black. It was like multicolored.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen the fancy pigs.
Yeah.
It was a very expensive fancy pig, except that and they really are just amazingly cute things. Very friendly, very intelligent, all of that.
Speaking of fancy pigs, thanks for coming and visiting us on MathPig's channel.
Thank you very much. But if you're going to have a pig, don't have a male.
Why is that?
They fuck the furniture.
I've only done that once drunk, okay? That was just that one time at band camp.
Yeah, and the one that we had could kind of just inspire himself to orgasm even without rubbing up against anything. I don't know how. He would just be standing there, and there would just be the floor needs to be mopped suddenly, and the smell is overwhelming. It's like, if you have a nice inhabitable living room, and then suddenly it's bukkake.
Oh, damn. Holy fuck.
I love fucking eating bacon, in all honesty. Bacon is definitely up there with pizza. It's one of my favoriteest things in the world to eat.
Oh, it's great to have it on pizza, actually. I love bacon on pizza.
I bought stuffed bacon rolls from the butcher's today, these big fancy ones. When I got home, I wrapped them in more bacon before I cooked them. I love me some bacon.
Yeah, I'm such a hypocrite. I'm such a hypocrite that I still eat meat. It bothers me that I do, because if I had to kill it myself, I'd be vegetarian tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
I would never enjoy food again, because I've honestly never had anything vegetarian that was edible. I mean, edible. You can eat it.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're ever going to have a mouthgasm like you have a steak.
Well, you see, there's the whole grown meat thing now that Burger King released last year in April the Fools. You know, the grown meat, the Impossible Burger, isn't that what they're calling it?
Yeah.
I would definitely like to try that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of Burger King, but if they can match the fact that it tastes as bad as Burger King, that's at least one step forward. It's like getting a good pot noodle.
It's a bit too much salt, but that's it. That's my only complaint with that.
And it's not just about how shitty you feel about killing animals or having them killed for you, but there's also so many environmental factors involved with raising meat and stuff like that. I mean, the amount of corn and grain and wheat, the amount of fossil fuels that go into just feeding the livestock in this country alone is fucking ridiculous.
See, we were
interesting, because I
grass-fed.
was asking some vegans about it when I approached them, because I wanted to find out if they were like vegetarians for one reason, like for dietary reasons or for moral reasons. So I asked them if something like meat were grown in a vat where it never had consciousness, a sense of self, that it was just, grown somehow, that like cloned meat. Would you eat it? And they said, absolutely. And I was a little surprised by that, but I think it's great because, I mean, maybe vat grown meat would be better for the environment. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, we've done the studies on it. It absolutely is. And especially because, not having to feed livestock and not having to source it. So much of the fossil fuels in our country are used because we don't, source local food. We're getting shit shipped all across the country, and people don't realize how much that affects the environment. How many, fossil fuels are used just to get, meat from one place to the other, or all the food that we eat. If we could eat more locally, it would be great. And then if, doing the lab grown meat would be, you wouldn't have to get it from across the country, because you wouldn't have to worry about, raising livestock in a certain area. It could be done in a city near you. So.
Inside farms as well.
I've heard that if, like I said, it might sound like I'm making a joke, but I've heard also that just the waste products from the animals, like a fair portion of our atmosphere is cow farts and poop fumes, and that probably
Cows don't fart, they burp.
But point being that might even be a factor as well.
Everybody says that, but it's not. It's belches from the cows that produces the methane. So sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
pointlessly pedantic.
And also, fossil fuels are a much more higher contributor than farming.
Did she disappear?
No, she just does this sometimes when she gets angry. She goes off screen rather.
I feel bad because I picked on it, and I was just fixing it. I'm sorry.
Hey, I said it too.
I just want to say that I sincerely do want to interview you later, so I want to make sure that you get in touch with me. But just because you mentioned the thing about the environmental livestock production to me today now, pretend that you didn't mention that when we do the interview later on.
As a funny side note as well,
bring everything you've got.
As a funny side note as well, have you ever heard of a person called Mark Sargent? The flat earther Mark Sargent.
Oh, I thought you meant the porn star. Okay, yeah. Yeah,
you know the flat earther. Well, I was, I don't know what way we'll put it. We'll just say I was lucky enough to get his email and send him. And he came on a couple of weeks ago. And Mama did the same thing when she went off kangaroo. She got very angry and then came back on and told him to suck her dick. So, I think the exact quote was, "I don't need your science. I don't need your math. Suck my fucking dick."
He told me I was indoctrinated because I was educated. and that pissed me off. So
I had a Somalian Muslim tell me that I was not an educated man because I had read all these other books, but I hadn't read the Quran. And he had never read anything but the Quran and other books that commented on the Quran. He'd read a bunch of hadiths and so forth. I mean, he'd read a whole bunch of apologetics materials all focused on the Quran, but that's essentially all he's ever read in his life. But that meant that I was not an educated man and he was. And so he made fun of me because he said, what is wrong with the Quran? And I said, well, what is your problem with the Quran? And I said, well, just to be quite summary about it, because I'm working with this guy. I don't need to invest a huge argument. And I told him that, and this was many, many years ago, right, before I studied anything, before I knew anything. And I told him, okay, well, so the Quran is based on the Bible, and I have huge problems with the Bible. And he goes, well, what's your problem with the Bible? And I said, well, again, that's another gigantic conversation that we shouldn't be having here at work. But just to summarize this, make it as easy as possible, it doesn't say anything about dinosaurs. And so he doubles over laughing that he has met a grown man who believes in dinosaurs.
God.
But his amusement, and he really is doubling over, holding his gut, laughing. And somebody else walked in. We were working in a convenience store. Somebody else walks in, an American, and he points out why he's laughing. He tells me, this guy believes dinosaurs. And the guy just stared at him. And so the Somalian kind of gathered some sobriety to him for a moment and said, when he realized the other guy wasn't laughing, he said, do you believe dinosaurs? And so the other guy said, well, I don't believe in them. I mean, we know they existed. And then the sobriety turned to alarm.
Wow.
It was interesting to see that paradigm going on in somebody's head.
You know, I'm surprised that he didn't argue with you about the fact that you said that the Quran was based on the Bible. I mean, I know it's true, but at the same time, a lot of the time, Muslims will tell you it's bullshit and that, you know, with the whole Allah is the only God and he's always existed. I'm just surprised he didn't bite back on that. So,
yeah, for anybody that's interested, I am doing a series on the Quran, Quran lessons for the infidel, where I write a number of blog posts. I read tafsirs. I compare these to I'm doing a translation by Abdul Halim. I compare that to other translations. I compare that with tafsirs to make sure I'm getting the right interpretation, that if anything seems questionable, I go to these other sources. And then I do a video interview. After I do the blog post, I do a video interview with people who are raised in Islam and speak Arabic to correct me on anything I got wrong. And because I'm already checking all of these other alternate sources before we even get there, most of the time they tell me that no, what I got is absolutely right. Very rarely they tell me that no, that in Islam we teach that this other perspective. And the reason I have to do that is because if you were raised in Pakistan and you had never read the Bible, if you've never met a Christian, you would, if you got a hold of a Bible and you read it, you would never imagine that the serpent in the garden is supposed to be Satan.
No.
You couldn't make that assumption because it's not. It doesn't say that ever anywhere. It doesn't even allow that could be a possibility. You just have to understand that that's the Christian interpretation of what reading between the lines and ignoring the lines.
Yeah, exactly.
So I understand that religions are like that, which is why I have to interview these Muslims. And so I'm about halfway through the Quran, and I'm having a great deal of fun with it. I just posted a blog post yesterday. I finally got to the point where it talks about the virgins that you're supposed to get when you die.
Oh, see, I've always said that if it's true, it just ends up being male virgins. So,
well, it talks about how they're beautiful companions.
Was like 72 virgins. Give me 2 fire-breathing whores.
Yeah, why? Who the fuck wants to fuck a virgin? I don't get that, but whatever.
That was Billy Connolly, and I mentioned him in my blog post.
Fucking Billy Connolly is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, Bill is losing his mind because he's had his hand up forever.
Yeah, give Jim a go. He's been changing hands because they're getting sore.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Is this mic good?
Just part into the conversation.
Four things, and then I'll get in, I'll get out, just like a duck mating. Here we go. First thing, Amanda said that bovine flatulence is from belching, not farts. That's correct. I just
Of course it is.
fact checked that. So, but it is the second most leading cause of CO2 parts per million in the atmosphere. So it is a huge problem. Second is Aron mentioned the Quran. I read it 4 times for my second book, and I concur with him. You have to read it in multiple interpretations. The only way to perfectly read the Quran is to know Arabic. Neither I nor Aron know Arabic, so we have to go with the 4 different translations that we have. So that's correct. Second is I'm a vegetarian for the last 7 years. If you want to know anything about ethical standards, and I'm not a militant, and if you want to eat meat, that's fine. And we're not all PETA members, and we're not going to throw red paint on you, and we're not fucking all just gonna, shit on you for eating meat. You do you, I do me, and there's certain benefits to eating just vegetables. And last thing is, the person that said you believe in dinosaurs. Here's what I found, and Aron can back me up on this because he's been to an atheist and Christian book club with me in the past. There's Christians at that book club meeting that deny evolution. And if they want to engage us on other higher level theological matters, I cannot take them seriously if they don't accept basic science. If they cannot accept Darwinian natural selection, and then they want to entertain the ideas of fine tuning, we could argue fine tuning, but you got to accept what is true. What is true is natural selection, Darwinian evolution. I mean, if you don't accept that, we have no starting point, because you've already shown me that you're not willing to accept facts.
Yeah.
That's all.
No.
If you don't mind, I would very much like to go back over to your house, Jim, one night if you would cook for me, if you can.
Habanero nachos? Remember last time?
I've never had a vegetarian meal.
No, you have twice. When you came to my house the last 2 times, I did the spinach.
I brought my own steak.
Yeah, and you leaked the juice all over my kitchen floor, but no big deal.
Blood. It's called blood, Jim. It's dirty blood.
They call it blood.
I know Bill's gonna I want to swap out and get Jas another chance. So, Bill, I know if it's okay if you want to say your bit to Aron.
Yeah, I was going to drop anyway because I've got things to do tomorrow. But if you wouldn't mind, if I could send you an email in the next sort of day or 2, just to have a chat about a few different things. If that's
no, absolutely, please. You have my email address.
I'll get it from MathPig. If that's good.
Very good. That's the best way to reach me.
That time you barbecued in my backyard, though, I'm not a meat eater, but it smelled goddamn delicious. I will give you that.
Thank you. We had a ghost pepper marinade. Yes. That I thought really woke it up, but there were other people that were telling me that they couldn't possibly eat it.
But you remember the habanero nachos I made that same day, and you and Lalandra wasn't there, so it was just you. Someone else enjoyed it. Everyone
this is not fair. We're talking to people in Europe, and you and I live in the same metroplex.
Yeah, it just hit midnight here, and I just finished the first bottle of wine. And as I said, Aron, earlier, it's 15% alcohol, but it's 30 milligrams per 100 milliliters of pure caffeine.
Wow. Okay.
And
here I felt like a badass with my Red Bull.
Yeah, it's illegal in the USA. You can't. The closest place you can get it is the Bermuda Islands.
Yeah, Jim, how's that Chocovine doing?
This is Dutch chocolate mixed, infused with red wine, and Amanda, Mama Atheist, loves it, but this shit gives me the shivers.
By the way, Jim,
I hate it.
Your friend who made this.
Oh yes.
There it is.
Promised he would make more, and I never heard from him again.
He's gone. Dude. He's off the radar. He hasn't been a host of this show for like 5 months, so he's long gone. But that was some really good brew, and I know you wanted 2 more cases to take down to Austin, but yeah, he's long gone now, and so will I be after.
So I'm looking for a brewmaster who can do me a 12% imperial stout that has actual flavor and sweetness to it.
Sweet beer. I've never had that, but it sounds intriguing.
That's what I usually drink. I mean, the stouts that I have, they're called bitters, but they're not. They're all of them are sweet.
Try
Well, I
honey.
mean, 'cause that's the problem I always have with beer is that it's so freaking bitter. But if there's sweet beer out there, I might be willing to possibly revise my opinion.
I've had a couple that I swear they look like Coca-Cola, they taste like Coca-Cola.
Or you can try honey mead. I mean, seriously, honey mead. You won't
Oh,
know.
well, I love honey mead, but that's more of a wine than a beer.
I don't know.
That's my problem with it. It's too much like, and I have a class thing. I can't drink wine because I'm not upper class. So the trailer parks I grew up in, we can only drink beer.
Then you get the wine in the box, yo. That's what it's for. The wine in the box, you know?
And I'm sure you could break down and do like tequila or vodka too.
Tequila's always good. Tequila's always a good option.
Yeah, I feel terribly remiss that Bionic Dance was in my town. I didn't give her a proper beer. I feel so terrible about that. And
I guess
Jim, we actually talked about this the last time you were in our stream, how much it was funny that you started the trend that if you want to talk, you must put your hand up. Like that went for like 2 streams. You know, if you want to talk, you have to put your hand up. Even after you were gone.
The last Faithless Forum, me and TJ were recording after party sessions back. I mean, we were going balls out for like 6 hours straight, right? It was about closing time. It was about 2 a.m. And I realized, holy shit, Kate Farr is right there, 6 feet from me the whole time. And my idol, like the inspiration for why I even got into atheist YouTubing in the first place. And I still haven't got an interview with her. And it was too late at that time. We were blown out. We were closing up equipment. And it is a huge regret of mine.
You hear that, Kate? You got to come back to Dallas.
Well, I might.
Just so I can get you drunk and he can interview you in that order.
Okay. It won't be the first time I've had a YouTube video of me schnockered, so.
Well, I've done it
drunk on stream? No, drunk on stream. Manda and Jim know nothing about being drunk on stream.
Oh,
okay.
So I've actually never been high on camera either.
Why do you think I use a fucking avatar? I'm in Ireland. It's definitely not that I am. Totally, definitely not. I'm smoking only tobacco.
Jim, I keep forgetting that this is the end of civilization and we are living through the zombie apocalypse, because I keep thinking that we need to set up a barbecue or a movie night or something. It just keeps slipping my mind that civilization ended.
Just to do it, talk. Discord has that ability now that you can actually stream in Discord a movie, and because you're not streaming to YouTube or anything, and people can join, talk over it. It's a community thing. They have it in movie night now in a lot of the Discords.
Oh, yeah. They have that, but it would be better if Aron was in my living room again.
We all want Aron on our living room sitting on the sofa beside us, but that's a different conversation altogether.
We can all be so lucky, but...
that sounds like a hostage situation. Hold on, y'all.
We've just slipped into misery territory.
My second book has depictions of Muhammad in it, and I always, because I had to call the police about 3 weeks ago, there was someone knocking, 2 people knocking on this window and that window at the same time. I locked and loaded. I went to the peephole. Someone had their hand over the peephole. My next door neighbor's a cop, so I called him, said, come out. He did his tactical thing. They were gone. Long story short, we couldn't find the suspects. I thought it was maybe because of my second book, because of the Muhammad and the highly critical of Islam. But I thought, oh, wait a second. Aron lives 30 minutes from me. He's my canary in the coal mine. If anyone wants to go after, if anyone wants to go after an atheist YouTuber that is critical of Islam, he's going to get hit first. And then once he gets hurt, then I can start worrying.
And I've actually been to Sharia countries after I started doing this. I was in one last month. And
Jim, you need to get a sign next to your door that says, "Primarine, I'll shoot your ass." And people will leave you alone, I swear.
Maybe.
All right, I am going to have to bail. Jim, we need to do some kind of a meetup again. I'd be happy to take those guys' suggestions if we're all going to do on lockdown. If there's a way to do a virtual movie night.
Yeah, we can do
that.
But
hit Mama Atheist up. Do that climate change, because that would be a badass show.
Yeah, she needs.
Absolutely.
I'm really hoping she will email me and we can set something up for like next week or whatever, because I really do want to interview her on that. Kate, very much looking forward to seeing you again. I would prefer that it be in my town, even though your town is better than like all other towns. I would. She lives in San Diego now.
Yeah.
It ought to be in my town just so I can give you some good beer.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it. And also, if you ever need like a co-host or a guest or something, just saying.
All right, float some ideas because I can always work with that.
If you need somebody to get drunk with,
Oren, before you leave,
someone
brother.
to get drunk with, I'm all up for that, man. You know, so yeah.
An Irishman who likes to get drunk. Who'da thunk?
Who'da thunk?
And you
Oren,
know,
I gotta ask.
A bottle of Captain Morgan sitting on top of my fridge.
Yeah, well, we'll just throw it out there again. You know, just everybody make sure that you all stay away from me Lucky Charms.
Oh yes.
Oren, I gotta ask before you leave. Oren,
my gosh!
if,
I figured something out this morning. If you eat maple syrup like on Eggos and then drink Red Bull, it tastes just like the Lucky Charms marshmallows.
Oh God, no!
Okay,
Stop that!
Jassa,
Stop you! No!
Go ahead, Jassa.
Oren, I gotta ask before you leave. When it comes to barbecue sauce, is it lemon based, mustard based, or ketchup based?
None.
Mustard.
None.
I don't use barbecue sauce. I use a ghost pepper marinade.
Woo! All right. Well, that's a Texan for you. All right.
Yeah, my wife makes she soaks it overnight in this weird brine that she makes. It'll bring it to life.
No, you mean it'll turn your colon to life? Okay, I got you.
Remind me to tell you the Aron and Lalandra story from an Indian restaurant at 4 a.m. one night. I got to tell you that anecdote one day.
Yeah, do that. All right, well, I have to bow out. It's been a great deal of fun. Mama, contact me so we can do that interview.
Okay.
Kate, send me an idea, and we'll do that.
Personally, man,
next
again, thank you very much.
Next time I find an excuse to end up in Northern,
yeah, no, in all honesty, if you do stay in Lisburn, I'm Craig Avon. I drive 3 minutes up the road, I hit the motorway, and I come off the motorway at Lisburn. You're 10,
yeah, I'm
15 minutes
afraid
up the road.
to go back because I got a parking ticket that apparently.
It's okay. We'll sort that. It's okay. People shoot
We'll all pay for it.
AK-47s
You need
at
to
the
go back
police
up
over here.
north.
People shoot AK-47s at the police over here. They have better things to be worrying about than your fucking police ticket.
It's just the guy I was staying with kept running out like every hour. He would run out to my car to pay the meter for like 2 or 3 days. Every hour he would, and it was like on the last day, just before we left, he comes back and he's all cussing in Northern, right? Because he missed him and they put a fucking ticket on it.
You need to get out of Belfast, man. That Northern Ireland thing's only Belfast. You need to get the fuck out of Belfast. You might as well say situation. You're gonna check out the situation. That's an Belfast thing. It's mad.
My friend there said that we were two nations separated by a common language.
Yeah, and then we
Because
threw
of
Ulster
the-
Scots on top of it. We made a load of words up, and yeah, it's very funny over here. Nobody speaks
That's
English.
if you actually consider Irish English, but okay.
No, but you see, that's the thing, man. I'm Ulster Scots, right? And to me, Ulster Scot is a dialect more so than a language. You know, it's more slang terms and things like that. Like when you get to talk to me at the start, it's hard to understand what I'm using. Like crack is a white powder in America. Over here, it's spelled C-R-A-I-C.
No, they're white rocks. Fucking get it right. I've told you this before. Never
Fuck
mind.
off.
I'm in Southern Alabama, so that English is a totally different language.
Yeah, but if you're having the crack here,
Southern
you're just having
Alabama,
the
I
bad.
feel so sorry for you.
I can smell Kent Hovind's bullshit from here. That's how close I am to the dinosaur park. Okay.
No, it's just
I
it takes a wee while.
visited Northern Ireland, and probably the best time in history to do that because I bought this, or I rented this little rental car just so I can drive on the wrong side of the road using a shifter with my left hand. I had to have a stick shift because it's not the full experience if you don't have a stick shift. But I remember I'm driving along the northern coast and I'm seeing castles and stuff as you do. But I remember recognizing things. Like I remember I looked out at an empty field and I'm like, I've seen this field before. How
They're
the
all
fuck do I
same.
know this field? And my wife pointed out, oh, well, that's where this character burned the little girl that was his daughter. Game of Thrones.
Yo, yeah.
I figured Windows XP.
I had a very similar experience during those 4 brief months I lived in Santa Cruz. And I was like, wait a minute. This is the Lost Boys right here.
The company that I worked for actually owned a contract to look after the tires for the people who filmed Game of Thrones. So if they got anything like all the film production queue and all that there, yeah, they came to us. And
if anybody watched this show, there was the scene where the pirate guy killed his own father he goes out onto a rope bridge.
No, it was his brother.
Was it his brother?
Yeah, it was his brother.
But there's this rope bridge, this very treacherous rope bridge, like 300 meters above,
oh
surf
yeah,
on
that's the
rocks.
Ragnarok opposite, or it's opposite the Giant's Causeway.
Well, it's not quite the Giant's Causeway, though. We did go to that too. That was another whole story my wife wanted to do, and everybody, including the people in Ireland, went, are you sure you want to do that? Because it's long way away. But we finally did that, and we were very grateful to it. So I enjoyed it so much that I came back a year later with both my sons, and we did that exact trip again. But it's at Castle
man. They've actually done it up. They've done it all up now, and it's really safe.
There's that rope bridge where the pirate guy grabs the other guy and throws him off the rope bridge. I've been on that rope bridge. It exists.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Doesn't exist anymore. The rope
Seriously?
bridge at the top of Northern Ireland, they've totally upgraded it. They've made it completely safe. It's encased as you walk down and all. Like, I went there as a kid when you had to sort of step down like these fucking half wooden things falling apart. There was a dead pig over the edge of the fucking cliff on a rock edge when we went there. You could swing the thing.
Walk over that bridge when it was still...
Yep, yeah, I've done that. Yeah, to the point where me and my brother swung it that much when my mother walked across it that she stayed for an hour on the other side and went, you must fucking phone the police and get a fucking a helicopter. I'm not walking in that thing again. But now it's completely safe.
That was so fucking scary.
It's not. Yeah, it was great.
It's just a tiny little bridge. It's literally made of rope, and it's swinging in the wind, and it's way high up, and it's not surviving that fall. And it's a very treacherous walk. I'm sorry to hear that it's not there anymore.
It's now safe. It's now health and safety safe. Yeah, you should look at it now, man. It's not as fun as what it was. But generally, I ran across it. Then my mother went to run across it, and my brother ran up behind. He swung from one end, I swung from the other. She shit herself. She got to the other end and went, phone a helicopter. I'm not doing that again. These are fucking assholes. Phone a helicopter. Get them to come. And she stood there for 45 minutes and would not go back over. But she eventually did, obviously.
Fortunately, my family didn't know fear anymore because I was driving on the wrong side of the car up to that point. So
we actually caused her to have a mini panic attack, but we're really nice sons. We really are nice sons. Sal, will you just say bye before you go, Aaron, just to give Sal a chance?
It's been a bucket of fun, but I do have to get serious and get back to
Sal,
work.
if you want to just say your bit before you come in there, just say bye.
No, yeah, no, thank you. I just want to say goodbye, man. Pleasure listening to you. I had a bit of a drink, so pardon. I just wanted to say goodbye and pleasure hitting to you.
Nice button job.
If you can't be good, don't get caught.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Really appreciate it. So everybody, on that note, we'll end this. I don't know, we might come back with Quiplash. I'm in a good mood. Everyone's in a good mood. We might
let's do some Quiplash.
Seriously looking forward to Quiplash.
Yeah, come on, man. Have some fun.
Where's the button? Just to annoy Kate. So yeah, we might come back. We might come back with some Quiplash. We'll be back soon.
Yeah, if you got like a few minutes, just let loose.
It's a signature of love when I kick someone and bring them back. Right, at the end of the day,
Aaron,
very much respect for what you do, man. Appreciate your activism, really. As I said earlier, you would be my Hitchens, and a lot of respect for you. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you very much.
That's it. If everybody wants, bye.